Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L and hey, welcome. This time let's talk about Fairy Tail, the 100 Years Quest, Chapter 6. I initially wanted to do Chapter 5, but I didn't realize that a whole week had already passed between chapters. Chapter 6 though, I think is much more interesting, and it's got some stuff going into it that I find extremely interesting. And so we're going to talk about that first, mostly because every time we encounter a dragon slayer or a dragon, we have to ask the old question, what was Acnologia doing when he was going on his tirade? That said, I do have like nice things to say about the chapter, because aside from the context that was provided by the original Fairy Tail series, this chapter as a standalone series, disconnected from that original, it's pretty cool. It's cool stuff happening, cool stuff going on. So very excited to talk about this chapter. Let's start with the problems that we're seeing in the continuity of things, right? Again, this week we have another thing with the dragons. This dragon this time, or this dragon slayer this time, is bringing along a lot of questions when it comes to just what is going on with dragons in general in the Fairy Tail world, and just where exactly was Acnologia on that whole ladder. Where was he? What was he doing? What was, like, he was just, it seems like he was, every chapter it seems like he's being made a fool of, because he was just wrong about the things that he was saying. So just to give you guys proper premise, let's just very quickly go back to chapter 540, and I'll just show you this picture real quick. It's a page from chapter 540, and let's just take it again, what Acnologia was saying. And within this world of space-time, I shall exterminate you all, the last dragons. He said that in reference to Natsu and the 6 other dragon slayers that were with him. Alright, there we go. The last dragons. That implies that there are not many other dragons left in the Fairy Tail world. With Fairy Tail the 100 Year Quest, we have now seen, for sure, 2 giant dragons. Now, here's the thing. All of these little problems that we're encountering with the continuity and just what exactly Acnologia was doing, they can all be relatively answered, right? They can all be answered really well. All it takes is just one line from the writer to say what happened, right? They could very easily say, oh no, Acnologia just happened to miss these people, which would honestly be the most, well, it would just be the worst answer, right? Because it doesn't make sense. That said, we do have a precedent for Acnologia missing dragons before. He missed Eileen until he was really close to her. And in the first chapter, or I think the second chapter of 100 Years Quest, we had a very, very important line from Natsu, or Wendy. That being that the person that was in front of them, when they were seeing the dragon that was actually the Guildmaster of Mahia Dragon, he smelled human. Okay, that's a very important distinction, because it establishes that, okay, maybe the Pentadrakes, maybe they can hide their scent, and that will remove whatever it is that Acnologia is using to find the dragons, or just kind of suss them out. We know that Eileen was an enchantress. She could have enchanted her scent away. We know that she was able to do something to be able to get that human form, right? Okay, but now the problem is, when we get this Dragon Slayer, the Dragon Slayer tells him that tells him that Natsu smells the same as her. Alright, we know that Natsu smells like a dragon. We know that because we know how Acnologia was able to suss out that Natsu is a dragon. Alright, cool stuff. And it just establishes they're dragon slayers. Okay, the moment you got that going on, it's like you gotta ask, how did Acnologia miss a whole guild of people who were pretty much dragons? Right? It's kind of weird. Again, they could very easily answer this with, oh hey, he just missed them. They're really good at hiding. They blocked their scent for years upon years. There is another alternative, that being that these guys showed up after Acnologia was down, which is still really weird, and that goes to the whole generation thing that we found out here. In this chapter, they introduce a bunch of generations. Well, I say a bunch, but it really is only one. I was just pleasantly reminded about the 4th generation. Anyway, they introduce a generation, that being the 5th generation Dragon Slayers. Now mind you, the whole thing with generations, I think, is really, well, I want to say stupid, but it might also be clever on the inside when you look at it, just because the ordering of the Dragon Slayers doesn't really make sense if we take it from the original perspective, right? Because we have the 1st generation Dragon Slayers who are just flat out given power by a guardian dragon like Natsu's group, and then you have the second generation being the people who have lacrima implanted inside them, and then you have the third generation being the people who had lacrima and were bequeathed power by their dragons. But the thing is, since Sting and Rogue were both dragon slayers prior to that event, or prior to like the whole idea of the second generation, well, it's just they come from a time with the others, right? It just makes it feel like they should be technically the second generation. Although I get it, in terms of the nice sequential order, it makes more sense that they are third because they have that secondary method being introduced to them, right? The lacrima implantation. And then she calls the fifth generation the Dragon Eaters. Okay, overall, it makes it seem like the generations kind of happen sequentially from the perspective of present time fairy tale people. But if that's the case, then there were a bunch of dragons that were just hanging around while Acnologia was out looking for dragons. It just doesn't make sense, right? Because you would think, oh no, Acnologia would have annihilated them. The fact that there are still dragons that somehow made it past Acnologia's whole killing spree of dragons is really suspect. Unless these people also came from the past that Natsu and the rest came from. I mean, that's not impossible, but it's still really suspect. Now, I might be missing something because the fairy tale lore, it's been a while and it's very easy for me to just overlook a little crucial detail. But I think there's a lot of potential problems here depending on how they decide to kind of justify that these people survived Acnologia, that the dragons that these people ate survived Acnologia. And another thing, another distinction with Sting and Rogue was that they bathed in the blood of dragons. That they were the ones whose dragons thought it would be a good idea to let them kill them because that would make them stronger, right? I guess these guys took it up a next level. They're not bathing in the blood of dragons, but they're eating the blood of dragons. I guess that's like a whole other level. But at the same time, it's just kind of weird when you consider, well, Sting and Rogue have technically done a bit more than the first generation Dragon Slayers. So, overall, I want to know the timeline and the justifications for how we got to a point that Acnologia can say that the last dragons were the 7 people in front of him, and then how these people can exist while also smelling like Natsu, which implies that they smell like a Dragon Slayer. I kind of want to know why is this happening? Now, mind you, again, from a story perspective, I don't really care that we have another generation of Dragon Slayers, because it makes for a really interesting current arc, right? Like the fight between Natsu and the girl, and there being a blade dragon. That's pretty cool. It just doesn't make sense when connected to the rest of the fairy tale, at least from my perspective, and I don't know what to do with that information. So I want to see if someone's gonna question where this generation of Dragon Slayers came from. I want to see in what time period did the dragons that these people originally eat exist. I just want to see Natsu beat them all up, because as far as I'm concerned, they didn't help out when Acnologia was going crazy, so these guys are just all jerks and we should all get rid of them. Another thing is that since they're right now trying to chase after dragons, they're trying to chase after the Pentadrakes, it's like, guys, this has been going on for 100 years and now is when you guys decide to show up, right at the time when Natsu and his group are there? Like, come on, like, why? It'd be really funny though if it turns out this is Mahia Dragon. But they didn't say it was Mahia Dragon. What did they call it? They called it the Dragon Eaters. Oh, Diablos, right? Diabolos. I had to say Diabolos. That's the name of a dark guild. That's a dark guild name. Like, no doubt about it. So yeah, probably a dark guild. Probably insane people. I'm just questioning a lot of the little things. Now, to talk a little bit more about the chapter though, I thought it was pretty cool. Like, the design of the dragon that we saw in this chapter was pretty neat. Although I hope that the Pentadrake version of this dragon is actually really cooler, because they were saying like water dragon god, like he was going in and doing stuff. But I really do hope that we get to see a really cool dragon design. Like, this design was pretty good though. Another thing that I really thought was that I thought this was initially going to be a trap. I thought this girl was going to be the one girl that showed up with the water god earlier in the chapter runs, but it was a whole new character, so that was pretty cool. Ultimately, I think this is a pretty cool character. I want to see her do stuff, but the questions I have about the overall logic of how to justify that she's here, that part's just kind of, it's got me curious. Like, what exactly is going on with the dragons that survived Acnologia. How did they even survive Acnologia? How did they hide from him? I want all these answers clarified. Or I want all these questions clarified. Pardon my speech there. Regardless, I think it's a pretty cool chapter of 100 Years Quest. I mean, it was mostly a battle chapter, so I'm just trying to find more things to talk about, but it's just pretty much a girl beating up a stone dragon. Oh well. Anyway guys, let me know what you thought down below. Let me know what you're liking about this. I think it's pretty freaking cool so far, and I kind of want to see the... I'm not gonna lie, I want to see the rest of Diabolos, and I want to see the Fairy Tail group quickly destroy them. Oh, this was a chapter that we didn't get the side story with Gajiel's people. Kind of sad about that. But I am kind of curious to see what happens, and I kind of wish that the other people from the Fairy Tail Guild can show up, because if this turns into just this group of 5 dismantling an entire guild, I'm gonna be like slightly sad. Only slightly though, because I like the supporting members of Fairy Tail. Dang it. But okay, that's it for me. Till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.